So just imagine for a second, there is a food, is quietly destroying our health. It's inflammatory food. It looks ordinary, but step by step, it destroys the group in us. Important little guy. Gut Flora. Cause various chronic diseases. And here's what's even scarier. Many of us, I eat it willingly every day. Thought it was harmless. Let's uncover this together today. Hidden in the daily diet. The true face of the gut killer, and how to turn things around with natural remedies. Heavy food health. What are inflammatory foods? And the simple answer is this. Inflammable foods refer to those that are chronic inflammation in the body, reactive food. Inflammation itself is actually the body's defense mechanism. For example, when you are injured or infected, inflammatory reaction mobilizes immune cells to fight foreign enemies. This is an acute, transient inflammation, helps to heal. However, if this inflammatory response persists for a long time, become chronically inflamed, this is not good. Imagine that. There is an unquenchable flame in the body. Continuous burning of tissues and organs. Over time, it can lead to various diseases. And certain foods are like the seeds that ignite that fire. Keep adding fuel. It perpetuates inflammation. We put this kind of foods that can easily cause chronic inflammation. It's called inflammatory food. Behind many chronic diseases, there are signs of chronic inflammation, such as cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, and even some cancers and diseases, are linked to chronic inflammation. So, controlling chronic inflammation is essential for maintaining good health. And one of the keys to controlling inflammation, just keep our mouths shut. Stay away from those inflammatory foods. When discussing inflammatory foods, we must get to know each other. An important invisible organ in the body, gut flora. You may have heard, trillions of bacteria live in your gut. They form a micro-ecosystem. It's called the gut microbiome. These microbes are usually unknown, but it is essential for health. They help digest food, manufacturing vitamins, and cooperate with the immune system, protect us from harmful bacteria. A healthy and balanced gut microbiome, like a harmonious community. Bacteriostatic is the guardian. Bad bacteria are controlled to a small number. Don't make waves. However, once this balance is disrupted, bad bacteria grow vision, you're going to get in trouble. Then send, what is the relationship between inflammatory foods and intestinal flora? It turns out that the destructive power of many inflammatory foods, it's not just that they cause inflammation. It's also that they disrupt the balance of intestinal flora. In other words, inflammable foods are often natural enemies of the gut microbiome. When we eat these foods, the beneficial bacteria in the gut may be affected, and harmful bacteria and yeast multiply, lead to flora imbalance. The lining of our intestines, it's like the boundary between the body and the outside world. If the bacteriostatic is not enough, bad bacteria are rampant. This protective wall becomes fragile. What's called a leaky gut. That's increased intestinal permeability. Result: all kinds of harmful substances that should not enter the bloodstream. Take advantage of the situation. The immune system is as strong as the enemy, reigniting inflammation throughout the body. It's a vicious cycle. How can the body not have problems? Sounds pretty scary. So, which are the killer-grade inflammatory foods? So much so that it is known as the king of inflammation. In fact, you must be no stranger. It's on our table every day. Office snacks and even drinks. Let's find out one by one. First of all, delicate sugar is definitely on the list. White sugar corn syrup, high fructose syrup, and these exquisite sweeteners are everywhere, from pastry cookies, sugary drinks to various sauces. All-encompassing. What says sugar is inflamed gunpowder? When we consume too much sugar, blood sugar rises sharply, forcing the secretion of large amounts of insulin to lower blood sugar. Long-term high-sugar diets can lead to insulin resistance, so the cells become numb to insulin. Blood sugar is often kept high. High blood sugar can damage the lining of blood vessels, triggers an inflammatory response. At the same time, the sugar molecules also bind to the protein, forming harmful saccharification products. They damage cells like rust and stimulate inflammation. In addition, sugar is one of the favorite nutrients for bad bacteria and yeast. Eating too much sugar, it's like throwing a feast for bad bacteria in your gut. Bacteriostatic but starving and freezing. The study found that high sugar diet decreases the diversity of beneficial bacteria in the gut, increase the proportion of harmful bacteria, imbalance the composition of intestinal flora, which can lead to inflammation. No wonder some people call refined sugar a sweet poison. It brings temporary pleasure, but it quietly ignites the fuse of chronic inflammation. And then trans fat. It's the bombshell of inflammatory foods. Trans fats are mainly found in various fried foods. Pastry, Hydrogenated vegetable cream. In processed foods such as margarine, early 20th century, hydrogenated oil was invented to extend shelf life. Unexpectedly, it also creates healthy killer trans fats. The molecular structure is abnormally stable, difficult to break down in the body. Deposits on the cell membrane. Stiffens cell membranes. Dysfunction. Not only does he directly trigger an inflammatory response, it also interferes with insulin function. Increased risk of cardiovascular disease. Many countries have realized that the harm of fat. Legislation restricts or even prohibits. But unfortunately, in some pastries and fried snacks, trans fats are still lurking. Imagine that. When you take a bite of a crispy donut, behind the alluring taste may hide the shadow of trans fat. These trans fats enter the gut. It also affects the microbiome. Studies have shown that high trans fat diet impairs the growth of probiotics. Induced intestinal inflammation. It's like planting a time bomb in your gut. A little bit of erosion of your health. There is also a common but often overlooked type of inflammation. That's some vegetable oil. You might be surprised. Vegetable oils haven't always been advertised as healthy. Is it a better choice than lard butter? It's not that simple. Not all vegetable oils are bad. But in modern diets, certain highly refined vegetable oils, especially rich in umami scents, 6 oils of polyunsaturated fatty acids, such as soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, etc. Excessive intake may actually promote inflammation. The reason is that omega-6 fatty acids turned into certain pro-inflammatory molecules in the body. A moderate amount of omega-6 is a must. But omega-6 in the modern diet, significant imbalance with omega-3. Our ancestors may have had a ratio of 1.1 or 2:1. And today many people reach 21 and even higher. Occasionally buying Karma 6 is far from excess. Occasionally buy Karma 3, but seriously insufficient. It's like an inflammation switch in the body has been turned on. And hard to close. And it got worse. These oils are often heated repeatedly for frying. Generate oxides and free radicals. Stimulate further inflammation. When these unstable molecules enter the gut, damages intestinal cells and mucous membranes, and it affects the composition of the gut microbiome. Fat is like a duct to water in this environment. Bacteriostatic is losing ground. Although vegetable oils are derived from plants, the name sounds natural and harmless. But excessive consumption of certain delicate vegetable oils. In fact, it has become part of the modern diet. One of the hidden intestinal killers, or processed meats, prosciutto, bacon sausage. Hot dogs, these are marinated, smoked or preservative-added meat products. Products are also frequent customers of inflammatory foods. The World Health Organization, as early as 2015, classified processed meat as a primary carcinogen, in part because of its association with digestive tract cancer. Linked to chronic inflammation, processed meat is usually high in salt, high saturated fat. There are also additives such as nitrite. Nitrite may be converted into nitrosamines in the body, isocarcinogens, inflammation of the intestines. At the same time, processed meat is cooked or smoked at high temperatures. It produces carcinogens like polycyclic aromatin. It also damages intestinal cells. The gut microbiome faces these chemical attacks. Good bacteria are hard to resist. More research has found people who consume a lot of red and processed meat, in its intestines, certain bacteria that produce harmful metabolites, higher proportion. For example, these bacteria can remove substances from red meat, converts to pro-inflammatory compounds, increased risk of heart disease. So when you have bacon in the morning, a few slices of ham for lunch, it may have virtually increased the burden on the intestines. It started a raging war. See here. You might ask, the #1 food speaker in the world. Which one is it? Sugar trans fat. Vegetable oiled processed meats are all guilty. Indistinguishable. Actually, the real scary thing is modern ultra-processed foods. It's a combination of all these things. Think about pizza, hamburger, fried chicken, potato chip cake, soda, these beloved foods. Is it the same? Contains a lot of delicate starches and sugars. Inferior oil additives. There may even be pesticide residues. For example, herbicides used in growing grains and legumes. These ultra-processed foods are an inflammatory hodgepodge. Therefore, if you want to choose yellow, ultra-processed foods, I'm afraid, they make up the modern diet. The most important part. It also causes countless people to fall into chronic inflammation. The culprit of the mud, it's not so much which food comes first. Let's say it's our understanding of junk food addiction. To the top of the speaker's list. Let's understand it in a vivid metaphor. Imagine your gut is a thriving ecological castle. It's populated by all sorts of people. Intestinal bacteria. Some are hardworking and kind residents. The rebel army help maintain the cleanliness and safety of the castle. There are also a few restless residents who are bad soldiers. Always want to make trouble. But under normal circumstances, kind residents prevail. The castle runs in harmony. Once you start eating a lot, those talking foods mentioned earlier, it is equivalent to sending a large number of bad residents free weapons and forage, throwing poison and stumbling blocks on good residents. Turbulence begins inside the castle. Bad bugs take sugar for energy and multiply like crazy. Trans fats and oxidized inferior oils. It's like punching holes in the city wall. They've destroyed the intestinal lining. Bacteriostatic blockbusters die or starve to death. Bad bacteria city siege. Final underwriting fall. The intestinal barrier becomes porous when the intestinal flora is out of balance to a certain extent. The catastrophe effect is not limited to the gut. A large amount of poison produced by bad bacteria during metabolism, and pro-inflammatory, substances such as juicy, sugar, etc., slipping into the bloodstream while the intestinal barrier is broken. These uninvited guests reach all over the body. Triggers the immune system to go on full alert. Chronic inflammation throughout the body begins. This chronic inflammatory state may manifest as intestinal discomfort, bloating, abdominal pain, or bowel, sometimes diarrhea, sometimes constipation. There may also be no obvious intestinal symptoms. They're elsewhere, such as repeated skin allergies, inexplicable joint pain, fatigue, low mood, etc. Over time, more serious chronic diseases are beginning to emerge. It can be said that the intestinal flora is out of balance. It is the beginning of many chronic diseases. Let's look at a real case. A college student underwent an interesting experiment. Eat only meals from a vegetarian chain for 10 consecutive days. The result was just 10 days later, the good bacteria in his gut. It dropped by nearly half. The scientist who studied the case exclaimed, "Short junk food. Overeating. The intestinal ecosystem that has been established for many years destroyed to pieces." The young man also clearly felt physical and mental deterioration, become tired, difficulty concentrating, depressed mood. Although the experiment was stopped later, restore a healthy diet. His gut microbiome is improving. But the lesson was really profound. Inflammatory. How powerful is food against gut bacteria? Don't forget that many people's daily diet. It's almost like a slower version of this. Maybe not hamburgers and fries at every meal, but a cup of milk tea with cake every day. Open a bag of potato chips often. It doesn't seem like much. The accumulation is enough to make the intestinal lord complain. When the intestinal stronghold is lost, all systems in the body will sound alarms. Affected. Let's talk about some of the obvious ones. You may have heard the term gut-brain axis, meaning there is a close two-way connection between the gut and the brain. The gut microbiome is known as the second brain because they produce multiple neurotransmitters, like serotonin, which is pleasant and relaxing. A significant proportion are made by intestinal bacteria. If the bacteriostatic is wiped out in large numbers, factories that make happy molecules like serotonin, if the work is stopped, people's emotions will naturally be affected. No wonder studies have found people with imbalanced gut flora more prone to anxiety, emotional problems such as depression. Conversely, when we are nervous, when stressed, the large intestine will also bend over. It's the gut talking to the brain. So take care of your gut. Actually, it's taking care of our emotional and mental health. If you often feel upset and angry, unhappy, maybe it's time to check your diet. Is the intestinal bacteria out of balance? There is a saying that 70% of immunity is in the intestine, although not entirely accurate. But it's true. The intestinal mucosa and that massive flora together, it forms one of the body's most important immune defenses. Probiotics are like trained security guards, teaching immune cells which enemies they are, who are friends. Maintain the balance of the immune system if bacteriostatic collapse. Bad bacteria run rampant. The immune system is not overstimulated. It's just unresponsive. Many studies have pointed out that, including inflammatory bowel disease, rheumatoid arthritis, even diseases like type 2 diabetes, and intestinal flora, imbalance-induced immune disorders. In other words, an unhealthy intestinal environment, it makes us more susceptible to illness. Defense down. It's also easier to deal with things that are otherwise harmless. Have an allergic reaction. This shows that maintain the balance of intestinal bacteria. It's a food accumulation that promotes immune health. Do you have any friends who can eat without gaining weight? And some people drink water to grow meat. Except for genetic differences, the gut microbiome may also be behind this. There are many types of bacteria in the human body. Different flora have different decomposition and utilization rates of food. Some bacteria can extract more calories from food. Metabolites produced, it also allows us to store more fat. Some bacteria help us get rid of excess energy. When inflammatory foods cause bad bacteria to gain the upper hand, tends to increase the proportion of that fattening flora. Researcher, we've had some fascinating experiments. The flora in the gut of an obese person, transplanted into lean mice. Soon after, This originally slender mouse actually started to gain weight. You see, an unhealthy cocktail of microbes can affect the body's absorption of energy and fat accumulation. At the same time, an imbalance in the gut microbiome can also lead to insulin resistance, disrupt hormone secretion, increased risk of metabolic syndrome. In other words, if the intestinal bacteria are out of balance, people may be more susceptible to gaining weight. It's harder to lose weight, may also be accompanied by blood lipids, abnormal blood sugar, and other problems. Therefore, they want to manage their weight and metabolism, except for calorie exercise. Don't forget to nourish the bacteria. Cultivate a healthy gut microbiome. Here. This may surprise you. The original piece of cake. A pack of potato chips is so lethal. So are we hopeless? Don't worry, the good news is, natural remedies can help us turn things around. Pull the unbalanced gut bacteria back on track. Put out the chronic fire in the body. The crux of the matter lies in the 2 words recuperation. That's diet modification, appropriate nourishment, and healing. Let's dive into a few of them. Practical natural remedies. From diet to lifestyle. All round help us rebuild health. This is the most fundamental and important step. The first thing we need to do is to cut off the source of the speech. Stop adding fuel to the fire. Specifically, is to minimize the aforementioned ingestion of those inflammatory foods. Eat less refined sugar. Replace sugary drinks with plain water or unsweetened tea. If you can't eat the dessert cake, don't eat it. If you want to satisfy your cravings, you can also choose low sugar. Replace snacks with the natural sweetness of fruits. Stay away from trans fats and bad fats. Look carefully at labels when shopping for food. If there is partially hydrogenated oil, put it back on the shelf. Cooking oil. Choose stable oils, like olive oil, tea oil, coconut oil, or ghee. Less processing by repeated high-temperature frying. Meat should also be reduced. Put bacon. Ham is reserved for special occasions and occasionally enjoyed daily. Replace it with fresh meat, of course. It's not just about cutting down on bad food. Also increase anti-inflammatory foods. Eat more fruits and vegetables. Nut cheekbone grains. Fish, etc. are rich in European and American natural foods with antioxidants. These foods provide fiber and phytochemicals, can help nurture good intestinal bacteria, and directly assist in reducing inflammation. For example, deep-sea fish are rich in omega-3, can help turn off the inflammation switch. Green vegetables and plum fruits are rich in antioxidants, neutralizes free radicals, reduce inflammatory damage. Diet adjustment is not an overnight magic, but perseverance will replace your body with blood. The once turbid internal environment will gradually become clear. Inflammation indicators decrease. The gut microbiota will also begin to recover. Adjusting your diet is equivalent to going without food. Bad bacteria feed good bacteria. But what if there are not many good strains left? We also need to actively replenish the donor bacteria. This is where probiotics come in handy. Probiotic? Basically, it's good for us. Common ones like lactic acid bacteria, bifidobacteria, etc. There are various probiotic supplements available on the market. And foods with added probiotics. If conditions permit, you can buy reputable probiotic products. Take it under the guidance of a professional. Probiotics are like an injection of new recruits into the gut. Help rebuild the defense. But be careful. Probiotic supplement. It usually takes a while to ingest continuously, and it needs to cooperate with the above dietary adjustments to take root. Otherwise, you take probiotic capsules while guzzling Coke. Eat fried chicken. 80% of probiotics cannot settle down. In addition, everyone's intestinal environment is different. Suitable strains may also be different. You might want to try several brands or recipes. Find what works for you. The benefits of probiotics go beyond just helping with digestion. They also coordinate with the immune system, inhibit bad. The bacteria grow and produce some anti-inflammatory substances. For example, short URL fatty acids. Nourishes intestinal cells. When your gut is full of friends, good probiotic soldiers, the overall defense is naturally greatly improved. The inflamed flames will also gradually subside. Mention probiotics. It is impossible not to mention the oldest in nature, the most delicious source of probiotics in fermented foods. Long before refrigerators, humans learned to preserve food through fermentation. The results were wrong. Created a batch of delicious food that is good for health, like sauerkraut, kimchi flavor layer soy sauce, yogurt cheese, kombucha, etc. It's all produced by microbial fermentation. During fermentation, microbes not only produce a sour taste, enhance flavor, they proliferated, become the probiotic we eat. Incorporate fermented foods into your daily diet. It is a simple and economical way to raise bacteria. Eat a bowl of naturally fermented yogurt, or a few sips of kimchi. It's equivalent to swallowing billions of doses of beneficial directly live to the intestine. And they set up shop there. Fight bad bacteria. And not only that, fermented foods also contain fermented products, such as organic acids, enzymes, and B vitamins. These substances help with digestion, lowers the pH of the intestines, make it difficult for bad bacteria to breed, and provide nutrients to intestinal cells. Of course, when choosing fermented foods, pay attention. Choose traditional crafts as much as possible. Preservative-free. For example, if you buy yogurt, original excellent leather with active bacteria. Pickles should be naturally fermented rather than vinegar-soaked. You can also do it yourself at home. Make simple fermented foods, like homemade sauerkraut, or use boiled sugar water and let cool. Cultivate natural strains to make fermented fruit drinks, etc. It's all fun. In short, fermented foods satisfy the appetite. Unconsciously, it expands the probiotic community in the gut. That's a really neat way to kill two birds with one stone. In addition to keeping away from bad things and replenishing good bacteria, another idea for natural remedies is to help the body remove accumulated toxins and waste. Give cells a clean environment. Many people refer to this as a detox. It needs to be clarified that the body itself has a well-developed detoxification system, mainly responsible for the liver and kidneys. As long as it works, it can remove toxins day and night. What we need to do is to lighten their burden and give appropriate support. First, try to avoid new sources of toxins. For example, eat less food with high pesticide Usually residues. Try to clean the fruits and vegetables as much as possible, or choose organic produce. Avoid excessive alcohol consumption. After all, alcohol hurts the liver. Do not abuse antibiotics and painkillers. Long-term use of these drugs can damage the liver and kidneys, and it disrupts the microbiome. Then, you can assist with detoxification in some simple ways. Drink plenty of water. Water is the most natural solvent. Plenty of moisture helps the intestines and kidneys flush out waste. Moderate fasting, like intermittent fasting. Do not eat for about 16 hours a day. Allow the stomach time to rest and repair itself. Also, let the liver focus on clearing the inventory. High-fiber diet. Dietary fiber is like a broom for the intestines. Adsorbs metabolic waste and promotes defecation. Take the garbage out of the body. There are also certain natural ingredients. It is believed to help detoxify and protect the liver, such as turmeric liver and anti-inflammatory green tea, rich in catechins. It has antioxidant detoxification properties. Ginger and garlic can promote blood circulation. It's antibacterial, helps the body eliminate unwanted microbes from the body, although it is not a violent washing. But in these gentle ways, continue to help the body reduce stress. In the long run, the internal environment will become cleaner and cleaner. The soil in which the bacteria live is also purer. In the fragrance of nature, in fact, there are many treasures for reducing inflammation. Heal the gut. Very helpful. In traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicine of various ethnic groups, it has been recorded that many can improve digestion, slowing down inflammation of plants. Modern science, and some of them are working. Common herbs such as peppermint, cool fragrance, can relax gastrointestinal reduce abdominal distension and cramps. It has a certain relieving effect on intestinal overflow syndrome. Chamomile standing tea drinking has anti-inflammatory and calming effects. It can relieve gastrointestinal discomfort and anxiety. Sexual warm gingerol can promote the secretion of digestive juices, anti-inflammatory and reduce nausea. It is a good medicine for regulating the stomach. And that turmeric. In fact, not only protect the liver, he is also a master of anti-inflammatory all over the body. It also has a positive impact on the intestinal environment. It is worth mentioning the garlic. Although I ate too much, my breath was heavy. But garlic contains allicin. It's a natural antimicrobial, can be suppressed. The overgrowth of harmful bacteria and fungi in the intestines. It also has the effect of promoting immunity. Of course, the more herbs you eat, the better. Just the right amount. You can find it in everyday cooking. Make use of these natural fragrances and herbs. Or make tea. Incorporate them into your lifestyle imperceptibly. The power of herbs can build up in your body, helps the body fight inflammation, repair the damaged intestinal barrier, and these herbs also tend to contain polyphenols, plant compounds such as flavonoids. They're also bacteriostatic in themselves, can promote the reproduction of beneficial bacteria. Indirect maintenance of flora balance. Saying so much, you may have discovered a key. Our bodies are actually an organic whole. Dietary intestinal flora. Inflammatory reaction, emotional immunity. Metabolism. These seemingly independent systems are actually interconnected. Lead the way. Systemic inflammatory foods. Like a shadow thorn lurking on our dinner table, the guest weakens the gut's defenses. Ignite the war of chronic inflammation in the body. Natural remedies offer a gentle, but an effective way out. By adjusting their diet and lifestyle, take advantage of the food and herbs bestowed by nature. Bring the body back into balance. Maybe when you first start to change, you will miss those sweet and crispy flavors. But when you feel your body getting lighter, more energetic, the long-lost little problem will no longer disturb. You will be grateful for your choice. And finally, We're going to close with a little image. You're standing in the snack section of the supermarket one day, reaching out to pick up a pack of familiar potato chips. However, all the things I heard today suddenly flashed through my mind. It's like seeing the little soldiers in the intestines, holding a shield, shouting at you to stop arming the enemy. You smile, turn around and walk towards the fresh food section, picked up a handful of green lettuce and a few bright red tomatoes, every such choice. It's all about taking the burden off your gut and body, healthy up the ante. Don't underestimate these everyday changes. Persist for a long time. The internal fireworks that were originally burning will gradually be extinguished, and in its place is a living environment. Until then, you are not only far from the number one in the world, the shadow of inflamed foods also gained a healthier, a more energetic self. Your gut microbiome will thank you. Your body will truly repay you, bringing long-term health and happiness.